I am cutting. Hi, yay. Okay, it's right. Somebody is here. So I'm cutting my the little stickers I use for skewing my items when they're in inventory. So I usually start a work day, but well, so I put 25 in every IKEA bag that I store my inventory in, and today I'm starting a new bag. So when I start a new bag, I write out 25 of them. I sticker 25 bags, so then I know where I'm at with that IKEA bag. So today is a day when I start a new bag. So that's what I'm starting my day with. Well, it's what I'm starting the work part of my day with. Still working on my coffee, so it's been that kind of morning. So I guess I'm just here to do what I normally do in a work day, but also leave this chat open to answer any questions anybody might have, or just be here to work together if that's helpful for anyone. Yeah, that's about it. And right now I'm cutting all sticky pieces of paper. Maybe I should have music on. I hate when people have music on live things. It makes my brain hurt, but we have it. What are you up to this morning, Elizabeth? Anything interesting happening over there? Let's put these on here. Haven't been able to sell anything on Poshmark. Poshmark is it's having a moment right now. I mean, truth be told, my sales have not been great on Poshmark. I've been kind of playing around with what I normally do as well. Summer is always pretty slow. I think people just are outside enjoying the world a little more, and they're shopping online less in the summer. The nice thing about Poshmark and eBay both is that the stuff you list now will still be available when people are back to shopping online. August and September tend to be really good months for me, so sometimes it's a matter of kind of waiting out the summer slowdown, but it is really frustrating. Are you sharing your items on Poshmark regularly and playing the games they want you to play over there? That can sometimes help. At least it helps me sometimes. Yeah. It's unfortunately, I think sometimes you can do everything right and you still don't really get that payout. But hopefully it'll surprise you one day and start to get better. I can say that consistency is definitely the biggest hint, is to stay consistent, even if that means, you list on the same day of the week. I don't know what your schedule looks like. I try to list every single day, even if it's just like 5 things, which is a lot if you're just getting started. Like, even if it's one thing, and if you can't do every day, pick the same days of the week and stay consistent. The algorithm really likes that. What does eBay charge for listings? So I have a store on eBay that I pay like $60 a month for. I don't advise you do that right now. I can't remember what the insertion fees are. They're pretty low. The biggest fees on eBay, I'll look it up for you. But the biggest fees on eBay are final value fees, which is like the percentage you pay on what has sold. let's see. I will tell you. Seller fees. Okay, so it looks like they've mostly changed it now. So there are no insertion fees for the first 250 items. And then you'll start paying after that. So they're trying to match Poshmark and some of those other platforms that don't charge insertion fees, I think. So I guess it's free now to list on eBay up to 250 things. What else can you do? So what I do when I have I'm feeling like I don't really know what else to do, you can, oh yeah, so you will get charged for things when they sell. You'll get charged final value fees and if you did any advertising or anything like that, you'll definitely be charged after things sell. I don't think there's fees to actually list them anymore within that first 250, if I'm understanding this right. So I always advise go through, check your pictures, pretend you're the buyer and like you're looking at that item. Is there a picture of everything you would want to see? I often forget content tags or washing instruction tags, any sort of fine detailing in the item. You really want to make sure that your buyer gets to feel like they're touching the item. So that would be a place I would always check. Look at your titles, make sure that they are using words that someone would use to try to find your item. So it's important to list them with the words your buyer would search, not the words that you would use necessarily to find it. So that can be helpful. Listing more is really, I know that's sort of a lame answer, but it really is true that all of those platforms are going to reward folks that have more listed, more than they are if you only have a couple of items. And it will pay off down the road. Like, I don't know if you took the class, I'm bad at names, but I know I talked about this there, but I'll talk about it again. Reselling really is a pipeline sort of thing. It's you build on it and eventually it'll pay off. It's not a fast, unless you do the Facebook marketplace thing. It's not really a fast moneymaker. Yeah, that's the thing. Summer's like my slowest sales time, but it's usually one of my higher productivity times. Like I list more things during the summer because my life is a little bit slower. So I do feel like it pays off. Like at the end of summer, I start to see my sales pick up. So that part is good, especially if you're selling things you already have. It's a great time to, front load, back load. I never know what the right word is there, but to load up the pipeline, summer is a good time for that. So, yeah. Let's see, what else? You can do the follow game. Sometimes that can help. You follow other sellers and share their items. They might follow you and share some of your items, which can, I don't think that's as important as having good quality items and good quality pictures and good quality titles, but I do think it is important. It can help. So that might be worth doing. And that's a thing that you can do like while you're watching TV or whatever. It doesn't have to be, a big deal. You can just share and share some other people's items. I usually, when I do that, try to share like 5 items from someone else's closet so that it creates a block of text in their newsreel that all talks about me, so that maybe they'll return the favor. So that's a little side thing. Let's see. Question: how do you set your prices on? Maybe that means vintage, solo, or Vinted is a site. Do you mean Vinted or do you mean vintage? Everyone is selling solo. So I list for what I think I can get for an item, plus whatever buffer I want to add in there to leave room for offers and haggling. I don't undersell myself. I don't use Vinted, so I don't really know much about that site in particular. I have been learning more about it, but I don't feel like any sort of an expert to answer specifically for that. But as far as pricing is concerned, I've always been of the school of thought that says that when the right buyer finds it, they're going to be willing to pay the amount that you need to get for it to feel good about it. It is a balancing game, right? Because you need to make money and you probably don't want to hold on to items for years. I usually, every item I look at it and I decide what is like the bare minimum I'm willing to take, and I'm just not going to take lower than that. I'm not going to price. The race to the bottom is not a thing that I'm interested in being a part of. It's not fun for me. I don't sell on Amazon for that reason. So I'd rather wait for the right buyer and massage and tweak listings if I feel like I need to get the attention I need. But I'm not willing to race to the bottom. And if you have good stuff, the right people will find you. That said, it's important to not be so emotionally invested in your items and find them so like precious that you're not willing to sell them and move them on to new homes, right? So it's a balance, but you certainly don't want to match everybody's low prices. It's just not. All you're doing is bringing down, like all those people are doing is bringing down the average cost for that item, and I'm just not really willing to play that game. Question: how long should it take to list, let's say 10 items? I thought I was going to take this one and found some items to sell recently at an estate sale, but I'm so busy with my small business during this summer. So I don't know that I'm the best gauge for that. I move pretty quickly. I have everything standardized now. I have templates in both eBay and Poshmark, so I just fill in like measurements and any specifics about the item. Last time I timed myself, every item took about 4 to 6 minutes, depending on the item. And that's from hanging it up, taking the pictures, dropping the pictures from my phone to my computer, quick editing, put them in the listing, add the specifics and post, and bag it. So I would say that's not realistic when you're just getting started, but I think people get hung up on trying to get everything perfect, and perfect is not the goal, at least not the way I run things around here. I do some things ahead of time, so I was just making my little SKUs. I put them on little stickers. This is all going to go in an IKEA bag marked TH. 25 things fit in a bag. There's a lot of systems that once they're standardized, things go really fast. So I don't know if that doesn't answer your question well enough, maybe ask more and I will answer some more. On Poshmark, when you offer a 20% discount offer to likers, how do you know if you've already offered it a few weeks? So Poshmark will not send the offer, even if you tell it to. If it's not an additional 10% lower than the last offer or it's been 30 days. So it has to be 10% more than your last offer, or it has to have been 30 days since your last offer, or those offers will not go through, even if you're saying send an offer to Likers. So you don't need to worry about like annoying people by sending an offer every day. I send offers very regularly and they don't all go through because I just sent one to people, but you don't need to keep track of that. The Poshmark bots will take care of that. Perfect. Yeah. This is a good side gig to get into if you're trying to maybe get on top of some perfectionism. I used to take a long time to take pictures. I had one of those little boards that you like fold the shirt on to make it look perfect and then slide it into the bag perfectly. And so it didn't get wrinkled, and I don't do any of that anymore. Nobody cares. They want their item. They want it fast. They want it to be in the condition you said it was in. That's all they care about. You really don't need it. Perfect does not need to be the goal. Will tell you that the offer won't go through. Okay, so I have to make a confession here. I use a bot to share my closet and send offers. That's a really controversial thing in the reselling community because it's against the rules. It costs money. I don't advise people do it early on because it costs money. I pay $25 a month for that. So that will tell me that it doesn't go through. I'm trying to remember if I try to send an offer. Well, let's see. Please hold and I'll tell you. So if I go into this item and send an offer. Nope, it'll still say, congrats, your offer is currently being sent to Likers. But then if you look in, after you do that, if you look in your news, it will say, this offer was not sent to any Likers, lower your price to attract or to notify Likers. So it won't tell you like when you click to send the offer, but then if you look in your news feed, it will tell you it wasn't sent to anybody. Try lowering your price. So I hope that answers that question. Let's see. I'm going to take a picture, but feel free to ask questions and I will answer them. I do always take pictures on my phone. I don't use a fancy camera anymore. I used to. It made it slow down. And I am all for fast. I'm not, like I said, I'm not looking for perfection. So I just take it with my phone in square mode. This, you can see there's like no content tag, which is unfortunate because this brand does a really nice job of giving you style numbers on the tag. So it's really unfortunate that this one doesn't have one of those. But it is what it is. I took your course, but I can't remember your recommendation on how many I should post to start. So I don't know that a lot got edited in there, so I'm not sure exactly what was in the class now either. But what I would say is figure out what you think you can commit to consistently. So if you think you can commit to one a day for Monday through Friday, whatever, set yourself a schedule, think about what you can probably do, and go from there. I think that's way more important than how many you list. I think closets that the sellers in every single day get pushed up in the search results. If the question is more about like how many do you need to like get traction, that sort of, it just depends. I think if you can list 5 a week, it's a good place to start. I cross post everything. So everything that I list on both eBay and Poshmark. It does mean that when something sells on one platform, you have to remember to remove it from the other one. And if you don't, you can get into some less than ideal situations with upset customers and upset platforms. So I don't advise doing that unless you are someone who can remember to remove things when they sold. But that's what I do. I used to think that I would sell like, it used to be a general belief that Poshmark was a younger audience and eBay was a more mature audience. So I would try to post things based on that. I didn't find that my sales have necessarily indicated that that's true. So I list everything everywhere and hope for the best. So that's what I say. I list everything everywhere. I don't list anymore on Mercari. I used to. I may someday again, but I don't right now. And I haven't tried Depop, although I've considered it. I don't use Vinted, although I've considered that too. I did used to sell on the RealReal and ThreadUp, but I didn't sell enough to be willing to remember to cross-post to there as well. My brain just couldn't handle anymore. So I stopped listing on those places, but and my sales weren't good enough to make it worth it. Yeah, so if you feel like it's doable to do 5 a week, start with 5 a week. And you can make use of the draft section. So let's say that you have, a good chunk of time on one day and you don't think you're going to necessarily have a lot of time the rest of the week. You could do all 5 of those, but put them in drafts instead of making them live right away. And then every day send one draft to upload it as a listing, so that you can keep that consistency without having to set aside the time every day to do it, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Just one moment. Okay, sorry. I got an email from my kid's school, which is weird because the school's not open, so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't important. It's not. Any other questions? I just went out to the thrift store last night because I realized I didn't have enough to list today. So these items I haven't really even checked over for flaws. That's another thing that is important to do. So when I go to actually list them after my pictures are done, I will need to check them closely. I think I talked about this in the class too, if you took it, but this is J.Crew, and they have this great little tag underneath the real tags that has information about the style and when it was released. It's great for looking for comps and stuff. So I like that about J.Crew and Madewell and all of those. So a Posh ambassador, it's been a while since I became one. It literally, you have to meet these checkpoints. So you have to like have listed a certain number of things, sold a certain number of things, shared a certain number of new Poshers closets, and you have to have bought one thing. That was the last one I got, was the buy one thing, because I was so mad that I had to like spend money to get this ambassador status. But I bought something from a friend, so it wound up being okay. But yeah, so you have to do all those things, and then you get a little badge that says Posh Ambassador or Posh Ambassador 2, which there's just more loopholes to jump through for that. To get the 2. If the next question is probably like, is it worth it? Does it help? I don't know. It felt really important to me when I was new on Poshmark to get that status. I did it pretty quickly. So it's hard to say whether it helped, because also, of course, I was like building my inventory and listing and sharing and doing all the things. It certainly can't hurt. I don't think it's the end all and be all, but it is probably worth doing if it feels reasonable to you, mostly because new buyers think that's really fancy. And also it does prove that you're on the platform, like you're consistently there. One of the biggest issues I have with Poshmark is that they don't really delete like users who aren't taking part in the platform. And so I've purchased things that just the person never ships and they never contact. They are not on anymore. They listed that a year ago and they're not even there to like follow up. And so I would hope that the ambassador status would show that at least you're regularly engaged. Question is, you're purchasing from thrift stores. They're so expensive here in the UK. Do you look only for specific brands? Also, if something has been up for a long time, do you pull it and repost or just leave it up? So thrift stores are expensive. That's true. They are getting more expensive here where I live in the States. I feel like it's getting a little bit cuckoo to keep sourcing there. We do have some outlet stores where you pay by the pound. I know I have a friend in the UK who, I'm going to sound silly and American, but she sources at, I think they're called like boot sales or something, like basically like flea markets. So that's where she gets most of her stuff. You also can ask your friends and family and loved ones whether they might have stuff they're done with and they would be willing to let you sell it. Yeah, it's getting harder to find inexpensive things. Do I only look for specific brands? I look for brands that consistently sell for me. That pink dress I just did was J.Crew, which is not high-end. I don't sell a lot of high-end things. I know that people think that's what Poshmark is for, but I sell a lot of just mall brand stuff. But I will say that like my thrift store does a color tag sale. So one color of the tags is 50% off and another color of the tags is 75%. So this wound up costing $3, which is about what I'm willing to spend on J.Crew, not more, unless it's a schoolboy blazer, which go for more, or like another really sought after thing. But that original price was like, $9, $10, it's, and I would not buy it for $10 because it's just too much. There's no meat on the bone. So obviously if you find a really high-end thing that this thrift store hasn't figured out, one of the things I have to wash them again because the spots didn't come out, but I found Outland denim. The thrift store, it's like a small enough brand that the thrift store didn't know it was any good. So they can't know everything, you know. So you can find brands they don't know enough to mark up, but yeah, it is expensive. Oh, do I pull it? So I am now starting to pull old things because I'm running out of room in my storage unit. So I am pulling the oldest stuff and going through it and deciding if I would list it again. And if I would, I start all over from scratch. And if I wouldn't, I just donate it. Typically, I just list it and hope it sells. But I do this for a living. And if I was just trying to make some side money, I might relist more regularly. Question, I tend to get Madewell and Brandy Melville confused. Yeah, so real different. Also, as far as brand, like this is not this is not a brand. But it has like it has these wild little things on it. So often it's the style. That's a statement someone's gonna want to make. Anyway, Brandy Melville and Madewell. So Madewell is a line of GTHOOD. It tends to be decent quality, often higher end fibers, like a trendier GTHOOD. So GTHOOD tends to be very preppy and nautical, and then Madewell is a little bit more granola, I guess. And I find Madewell to sell pretty well for me. Brandy Melville is like a teeny bopper store. So it's often their stuff is one size fits all. Like there's no size on it. And it's on average like a size 2. So it's for a very specific clientele. I can't give away Brandy Melville. Some people probably have success selling it. That people is not me. So yeah, I guess that's the whole answer. They're very different clientele that wear them. I am sure that some folks love Brandy Melville, but I don't pick it up anymore. I used to before I really knew what I was doing. And again, I mean, everything will probably eventually sell if you price it right. It might take time, but it will probably sell. But I wouldn't seek it out at all. I do seek out Madewell. Madewell is one that used to sell really well for me, and now it's kind of like Free People. It used to be like if you could find it, it was gold, and you were going to make really good money on it. And now there's enough people who are selling it that that's not really the case anymore, but it's still worth picking up if I can get it for a good price. I used to be willing to, for Free People or Madewell, things like that, I would pay, $10 or $15 for something because I could make 50. I don't find that to be the case with either of those brands anymore. So things change. I think mostly the market gets oversaturated. People find out it's a good brand to sell, and so then everybody is selling that brand, and then it's less good. Reselling is definitely, there's a lot of pivoting. I'm always learning new things to try, new things to stop. I'm just going to take pictures, but feel free to keep asking questions, and I will answer them as best I can. Where do you keep up on your fashion trends? Because I'm not a fashionista. I like to mention different styles. Cottagecore. Oh, like to mention. Yeah. So I am about as far from a fashionista as a human being could possibly get. I wear sweatpants and a t-shirt almost every day of my life. That said, I have teenagers, one of whom is a fashionista, so that helps. I spend a lot of time around other teenagers because of them, so that helps. And I follow a lot of fashion people on Instagram. I search Pinterest for clothing aesthetics so that I can learn about what's popular, what their different things are called. Like cottagecore and all those. I learned all of those from just reading about different fashion aesthetics. There are several resellers who will do like fashion trend reports a couple times a year, so I find those really useful. I look in magazines at the grocery store, check out. I watch the kids going to college and high schools. I mean, that's generally, I'm always watching what people are wearing at the grocery store, everywhere, because that's my best way to know what's popular. That won't tell you what it's called so that you can list it. So that's where you need to do the online research to figure it out. And I'm sure there's hundreds that I don't know. But if you spend enough time really paying attention and searching out the information, you'll find it. So I'm just working, whoever's new here, who just popped in, I'm just slowly working at a much slower pace than normal and checking in. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you might have. And if you want to share about anything that's going on for you, that's what we're here for. Sweater is very linty. How do you overcome all the spams on eBay and Facebook? Do you cover that in your course? So unfortunately, a lot of the coverage of that got edited out when the course was created. Nope. Produced. That's the word I'm looking for. So I do talk about it in session 5, but just like not a lot. So I'll come and answer without having to yell across the room. Just a second. So typically on Poshmark, oh, you asked about eBay and Facebook. I don't sell on Facebook because I can't deal with it. So there's that. The only time I sell on Facebook, if I have something like big and bulky and I don't want to ship it, I will sell on Facebook then. I also do pretty much use the same theory that Erin does. I put stuff outside and I say, leave money under the mat. And if they take it and don't pay for it, I guess they needed it more than me. I've only ever had that happen a couple times. On eBay, I'm trying to think of any scams that I mean, the truth is with eBay and Poshmark and Mercari and Etsy, I'm trying to think of all the ones I've used, and the Real, if you go through their system and you just make a rule for yourself that you do not ever do business off the platform, you will never email someone, you will never text with someone, you will never take money through some third-party money handler. If you just stay on platform, there's really very few scams. There's a lot of like people out there talking about major scams that people will pull, and they'll send you a rock in them. They'll open a return and they'll send you a rock instead of the item. I have sold many, many, many thousands of things, and I have never had someone so blatantly try to scam me. I did have one guy buy a belt and then say it was inauthentic and cut it up and send it back. But because he had no proof and I went through eBay's platform, I think they wound up refunding him, but they also let me keep the money because they couldn't prove either way. So most of these platforms have safeguards in place. And Poshmark, 100%. The scam you're going to get is send me an email or a text message because I can't see your pictures, or Poshmark isn't working on my phone, or whatever they say to get you to communicate with them off platform. Don't do it ever for any reason. And if you follow that rule, you're probably not going to get scammed. I mean, I don't think I've ever really been scammed. I've had some real jerky buyers who have, lied. And some of that just comes with the territory. They are so few. I mean, in 20 years and thousands and thousands and thousands of items sold, I mean, maybe 20 people have, come back and been jerks. I don't know. Maybe it's more than that. I don't keep track because the number of fabulous buyers and wonderful experiences so far surpasses it that it's not even really worth thinking about. I think there's a lot of scary talk out there. And I think it's largely for clicks, honestly. Poshmark works, but I don't have a lot of name brands, so it didn't pique my interest initially. Yeah, so I sell, I guess it depends on what you're saying, name brand. I don't sell a lot of high-end items. I think Poshmark did themselves a disservice by using the word posh in their name, because I think people think only higher end, like posh items can be sold there, and it's just not true. Of course, I'm thrilled when I find a, Dior item, and I am happy to sell it, but that's pretty rare for me, as it would be for anyone, I think. You don't have to have high-end stuff. Now, if what you mean by not name brand is that, most of the stuff that you have literally doesn't have a brand, like it's from Amazon and it just has like a little square tag with a size on it and not an actual brand like at all, those are going to be hard to sell. Okay, sorry, that was probably loud and annoying. So if what you mean is that like there are literally no names at all, that's going to be hard. But if what you mean is that like you could buy all these things at the local mall, that is mostly what I sell. I call it bread and butter. Yeah, it's real exciting when you find a steak item, when you find that Chanel, yeah, it's great. But the vast majority of what I sell is just from the local. I don't buy it at the local mall, but you could buy it at the local mall. I know that there are people who make an entire business off of designer items, and those people are not me. I'm sort of cheap. I don't really love to invest a lot of money in my inventory. I certainly don't wear a lot of high-end things myself. So Shein or Shein or however you say that name, those are hard sells because they're just so prominent out there. It's certainly worth trying, but that might be a tough one. But things from local stores, I don't know, like, I certainly have sold things from Target. I think Walmart's a harder sell, but people still buy things from there, just not for a lot. But certainly, stuff, I sell things from American Eagle. I sell things from Loft. I sell things from J. Crew. I sell things from J. Jill. So all that sort of like mall brand stuff sells. It's just not, it won't sell for as much, but it's still worth listing. And I would still list Shein. I just wouldn't expect to get a lot for it. Pick something up from a local thrift store with tags and made in the USA. So I was like, this brand must be good. Yeah. Amazon is wrecking the world for those of us that sell secondhand fashion. That's just what it is. It used to be that if it said made in the USA or made in Italy, that meant that it was like really high end and you'd get good money for it. That's not the case anymore. I will say if it's new with tags, it still might make enough that it's worth your time, especially if you can get good keywords to use. It still might be worth it, depending on what you paid for it. But yeah, I definitely am not happy about that Amazon fashion situation. I do check comps while I'm standing in the thrift store, which can feel really awkward. And I didn't do it for a long time because I'd be afraid they'd know I was going to resell it. And they don't care. You're going to buy it. You're going to pay the price they're asking for it, or you're not. They don't care what you're doing with it. So you can, if you have internet inside the store, you can absolutely check comps and see what that brand is selling for while you're standing there. Just be brave. It's fine. Do you think it's worth listing? If you've already bought it, which it sounds like you have, why not list it? You already have it. Worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get what you paid for back. I mean, I know it can be hard to put the time in, but if I've already got it, it's going to take a lot for me to not list it. If it's like real trashed and I had a huge flaw that I can't fix, I might not list it. But for the most part, if it makes its way back to my house, I'm going to list it. So, and I have people, friends and family, like donate items to me often. And often they are things I would not pick up. Like Shein and those other Amazon, stuff like that. And I'll still list it. They still often sell. I learned from that, right? Sometimes education is expensive and that sucks, but it's just the reality. So now you'll learn from it, see it as an education and list it, do your best with it. And now you know, if it says made in the USA, it could be from Amazon. Might not be worth it next time, but try to make your money back on the lesson. That's my theory. Yeah. I think if it's wearable and you already have it, it's probably worth listing. Let's see. I don't know. sometimes you run out of things to say when you're just yourself on a screen. I am going to go on Monday to the pay by the pound place called the Bins or the Goodwill Outlet. And I haven't been in a while, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to go with a friend. We're going to make it a day. So I'm excited for that because I've been sourcing only locally because the Bins is 2 hours away for me each way, a little more. And so I haven't been making the trip. And so I've been paying up for everything that I've been buying, which gets painful. So I am excited to go source. My average cost of goods when I drive up there is, $1 to 2 items or $1 to $2 per item. So I'm excited to get back to that as a average cost of goods instead of 5 or 6, which is where I'm at right now. You're scared to go. Yeah, it's scary for sure. Also, it's really fun. And it's unlike anything else. And I don't know, man. Some people like wear gloves and I don't know. Oh yeah, I've been to both of those. The one in Everett is way less scary. And I don't go to Seattle first. The one in Seattle is one of the most aggressive ones I've been to. Not quite as aggressive as LA, but it's up there. I like the one in Everett. It's small comparatively. And yeah, the people have seemed really nice when I've gone. I always find good stuff. So go to Everett. Parking there is a bummer, but no, you won't have to throw elbows. It really so when new bins are rotated out, it gets really wild, like sharks to feed on dead things or whatever that analogy would be. Initially, when they first bring the carts out, but then all the people that are like sharks get done with it really fast and then they go do something else. And then it's really pretty low key. So you can just, some days I'm not down. I'm not down. And I only look through the bins everybody's tired of. And I don't go to any new bins and I still find stuff to sell. So you can totally go and not go in, not be a part of the real intensity. I absolutely think you should go because it is really fun and there's just no other experience quite like it. So just do it. Just do it. It's worth it for real. It's a good reminder. It's really humbling when you go because it just shows you exactly how much waste there is in our culture. And since I started going to the bins for work, I am way more careful about what I buy new because it's just, there's so much. Thank you for coming. There's just so much. And so I think everybody should go even just for that realization that there's and then, anybody who thinks that people who are reselling are taking all the stuff away from other people and it's a scarcity, that's bananas. There's so much stuff. I don't know. I don't think competition is real in this space. I really don't. There's just so much out there, and the bins is a great place to get it. And you have a great bins right there. So go. Try to go during the week if you have any availability to go, well, up there. Yeah, I guess maybe there it doesn't matter so much. I'm trying to remember when I've been. Yeah. Just go when you can go. That's really the thing. And, you know, normally I'd say bring a friend, but it almost might be better to go by yourself because it's already so overstimulating that if you have to process somebody else's overstimulation, it can get even more overwhelming. Unless you have a friend who's like a super thrifter. I'm jealous that you're close to Everett. It's some of my favorite finds were from there. That's one of my faves. But it's a long drive for me. That's like 5.5 hours each way for me to drive up there. So I only go when I'm up there for something else, which isn't never. I mean, I've probably been to Everett, I don't know, 5 or 10 times. But it's not, I can't go every week or anything. But yeah, the one in Seattle proper, I'd wait till you're a little more versed before you go there. Tense. My cat was in here and now there's like cat hair on stuff. It's another one that used to sell for a lot of money, and now it doesn't anymore. But I still pick it up because I still like it. Yes, have a great day. Thank you for coming. I think I'm going to sign off here just in a moment. Are there any last questions that anyone might have before I also bounce? Anybody have anything more they need to say? No? Okay. Thanks for hanging out. We'll do this again. Absolutely. Thank you for coming. You're so welcome. See you next time.